super excited today because we are going to talk mental health courage. That's right, mental health courage. And we're going to talk with my cousin, Patrick Kennedy. This is his new book. It's a little bit tagged up by my little notes here. But it's really great. And he's really great. And he's doing all kinds of stuff. I saw somebody on there. Hi, Bruce Roberts, about Shark Tank. Yeah, can you believe that? I'm going to be on Shark Tank on Friday with my son, Patrick. What a bucket list that was for him. And I was actually nervous. I was actually a little bit nervous because I was like, what am I doing in the tank? Lord. Anyway, hi, Jocelyn. They're from Louisiana. Love that. Hi from Alabama. Anyway, hi, Bruce Roberts again. Anyway, we're going to talk about this book. It just came out today, and I got an exclusive interview with Patrick. And it's great. It's called Profiles in Mental Health Courage. And I'm super proud of him, and I'm super proud of all the people who allowed their stories to be told in this book. It's super inspiring. They're super inspiring, and he redefines what it means to have courage. Hi, Jennifer Parkland Jewelry. Hi from good old California. That's right, good old California. Here we are in good old California. Here we are in the good old USA, too. Get out of the tank, somebody just said. And but I'm here in my house, and we're accepting Patrick. It says accept. Okay. Let me just, there, oh, there you are.
Hey, Maria.
Hi, Patrick. How are we?
Oh, fantastic. You've start this off with such great energy, as usual.
Oh, well, I was saying how inspiring you are. First, I was saying hi to everybody who joined because there were so many people from all over the country, all over the world who joined. So I was saying happy Tuesday. And I was saying today, happy Pub Day to
Yes.
you. And I was talking about this is Patrick's, again, his new book, Profiles in Mental Health Courage. And he is an advocate, a trailblazer, a total architect of change in the mental health space. He is out there day in, day out, making a difference on behalf of people. And I got up, I was reading this book. So first of all, congratulations, Patrick.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria. Appreciate it so much.
Oh, it's so great. And I want to, this is a little bit tagged up here, but you said in this book, you wanted to write this book because you've been thinking about what courage is. And I had been having the same conversation with myself. And I loved that you said here, you write, the truth is the most courageous people I know qualify not for what they do in public, but what they are able to endure and rise above in private. This is especially true of people who struggle every day with mental illness or addiction or both, or who help loved ones or family members in their struggles. And I loved that because there's everybody's trying to have a public persona, right? And it's the stuff that we go through in private that we're so scared that people find out about. And you in this book talk to people about their private struggles. Why did you want to do that?
Well, I found in my own life integrating kind of the outside versus the inside, because we make these false, differences. And obviously being in public life, my whole life is, you have been, it was very important to me to try to maintain an outward presence, forget how I felt inside, forget what was going on in my life. And it made for a torturous existence. So what I wanted people to know from listening to these 12 tremendous profiles is that they're not alone. And that we often hear in mental health a very edited version of our experience. In other words, people now, thanks to COVID, are more willing to say they have a diagnosis, but that's frankly where it ends, Maria. People really don't tell more than they have to in terms of, oh, I have a diagnosis, but they don't you know, like when Simone Biles didn't get on the balance beam a couple of years ago during
Yeah.
the Olympics, people were like, what's wrong with her? Can't she just snap out of it? Can't she just get with it? What is this mental health thing? And, you know, but that was all she was comfortable talking about. And more of us need to understand, what does this really entail, so that they're not comparing themselves. Oh, this person seems to have made it because they've told their story. But of course, we all tell our stories with a happy kind of conclusion. Oh, we made it past, or we survived. But the reality is, it's much more complex than that. People struggle still. Even when they've made, you know, advances, they also have setbacks. And we don't accept that in our country. We just assume it's got to be happy ever after. And I wanted people to know they're not alone if they still struggle. And they're not losers just because they relapse or they continue to have challenges. And reducing that sense of isolation, which of course we all feel because of social media and comparing with the Joneses, but particularly powerfully with people with these illnesses, they feel so disconnected because they can't see how they are, frankly, not unique, that there are plenty of other people who are just like them, who are out there making it through the day with lots of ups and downs, and it doesn't have to be neat and tidy. That's the expectation we have on ourselves, is that we think it's got to be just so. And when it's not just so, we sink even further in our own despair.
You talked about, you said that all of these profiles, people still struggle, and that society wants kind of these stories to be tied up with a bow. And you said at the beginning of this interview that your own life, it had been treacherous, right? That it had been really hard for you to match your public persona with your private persona. When you're talking to people, Patrick, these profiles and mental health courage, and you're dealing with your own mental health challenges, what do you want people to know about these people, about you? If you're a parent of someone with mental health, if you're married to someone with mental health, that the ups and downs are normal, common?
Right. So this is the unique part about this book. Most of these stories is the first person narrative. Oh, it's my struggle, my story. Here's my story. We rarely get, what's my wife think of me, my struggles?
Yeah.
What's my coworker, my son or daughter or parent think? And in several of these stories, we had other family members speak who the person we were covering didn't want them to speak, but then we said, well, part of this is to create a realistic kind of story, which means many families don't talk to each other because of illnesses. I want this to be authentic.
Hopefully you can hear it. Lost Patrick again. You can still hear me. Okay, well, until he comes back on, I'm going to tell you, because I read this book and the people in it are really extraordinary. They are profiles in courage, and Patrick talks a lot about the courage that we don't see, that we don't hear about, our own private battles, our own private struggles, and how courageous it is for each and every one of us to get up every single day, and face the world, right? And face people that we love that maybe don't understand, and how much courage it takes to share our journeys, how much courage it takes to actually say, you know, I'm struggling and I want you to hear how I'm struggling, or I need help. These are really powerful requests. Name of the book, please. The name of the book is Profiles in Mental Health Courage. Are you back, Patrick?
I am. I don't know what's happening, but thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. And
the name of the book, I just want to reiterate, because people come out. The name of the book, it is out today. It's called Profiles in Mental Health Courage. It's a great read. It's an inspiring read. It's a great gift book to give to somebody. It's a great conversation starter because you can read through and talk to people. What's your definition of courage? Patrick, in the introduction, talks about changing his own definition of courage. You talk in the book, Patrick, about sharing your own story and how even in our family, that was hard and you lost some people through it. People got upset. And that you have to learn that kind of your own sobriety, whether that's emotional sobriety, however you define it, you're fighting for your life, right? So many people are out there fighting for their lives, and that's really what you want to talk about.
Yeah. Your mom and my mom have been, your mom's just been fantastic over the years with my mom. And my mom has suffered from alcoholism her whole life, and everybody treated her like a pariah. And I inherited that view of her as not being able to stick with it, not being able to keep up. And honestly, it's taken me a long time to change and accept my mom was doing the best she could under the circumstances. And if I hadn't researched about my own family, Maria, I wouldn't have known that her mom died at 61 of alcoholism and was absolutely alone in a little apartment in Cocoa Beach, Florida, and wasn't found for over a week because we find ourselves to be the kind of people who want to isolate. And I have so much more appreciation, and I also feel bad that I spent so much of my life looking at my mom in the way that everyone else looked at her, which was that she just couldn't handle it and what was wrong with her. So I think all of us have to kind of repair these old, outdated perspectives, because no one wakes up any morning, Maria, and says, I'm going to try to lose my job, lose the affection of my family, jeopardize my safety, and perhaps die today. Like, that's not what a human being who wants to be loved, respected, gets up in the morning to do. It's their disease that takes them hostage. And I want to feel part of a team that helps save people from being taken hostage.
I love that. And you have done so much to be on that team, to talk about that team. And I think that, you talk about how these treatments, whether you're suffering from addiction or a mental health challenge, to work together, right? To understand that they go hand in hand. We can't silo people who might be working on their depression, or someone else who's dealing with bipolar, or someone else who's dealing with a drug addiction or an alcohol addiction. What is the umbrella that we should be looking at these under, Patrick? Should we be talking about mental health challenges? Should we be talking about addiction? What's the best framing to have this conversation in our families?
Well, again, back to our family, like, my dad could have lived a totally different life, but we couldn't talk to him. He couldn't hear it from anyone about his own struggles. As you know, he had so much trauma in his life, and it was no wonder he was so affected in the way that he was. And yet, because he couldn't talk about it, he couldn't get help. And because stigma was so great, he couldn't ask for help. If you looked up post-traumatic stress in the dictionary, there'd be a picture of my dad in there. And yet, we didn't know what post-traumatic stress was then. We start to know these things now, but we still have that age-old vision that we're not supposed to talk about these things. So you saw in the book, I interview my cousin, Mark McMurray, on my mom's side of the family, who lost his 18-year-old son, Harry, to suicide. It had been 6 years, and I was the first person to really ask Mark what happened from his vantage point. Because you know what? We all tiptoe around these issues.
Right, I know, but we don't feel, I think this is a universal thing. People feel uncomfortable. They feel it's not their business. They don't want to pry.
That's right.
We don't have the language around grief when someone dies. We don't have the language around suicide.
Yes.
What is our right to ask about? Were drugs involved? Doesn't it seem like we're prying? What is the right way to talk to someone?
So all I do, again, is have other people tell their stories. And when I talked to Mark, he told me his vantage point of what happened to Harry. And then I talked to Harry's brother. He told me his vantage of what happened. I talked to Harry's roommate in college. He told me what he thought. But if Harry, Belton, and Mark had ever talked to each other, you would have had a much different picture on what Harry was going through. But for exactly the point you just made, Maria, all of them felt that they didn't want to intrude on Harry's privacy and that somehow he'll get better, which is all of our senses. Oh, they'll snap out of it. Oh, this is just adolescence. Oh, this is just what kids do. And I think it's a dangerous notion that we've come to accept, that this isn't supposed to be our job, that it's somehow an insult to someone that we would ask about something that's private. When in fact, if we love them, we ought to be trying to help them, especially in an era where we have record high suicide records and record high overdose. We cannot afford to have people think that it'll be okay, because really, Maria, we know it won't be okay. And we need to go in there and try to help people wherever we can. And if we're going to move the numbers and save more lives.
I love that. You know, the statistic Patrick has in the book, 84 million people, 1 in 4 of us had 1 or more mental disorders. 28 million of us have 2. 34 million, 1 in 10, had 1 or more substance abuse disorders. 31 million of us had a major depressive disorder. 20 million of us generalized anxiety disorder. 13 million meet a diagnostic criteria for alcohol use disorder in the past year. But only 60% of those with any mental disorder received treatment in the past year. So these are so many of these struggles are in private, right? So you're really talking about maybe using this book as a way in to talk to people about what's going on in our families, what's going on in our minds, what's going on, what do we need? But then the struggle when we say what we need, so many of us can't get the help that we need.
Well, Maria, it's shocking to me. You're out there fighting to bring more awareness to Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Recently, all your work on women's health. Frankly, women experience double the rates of lifetime depression and trauma as men. And you would assume, you think of post-traumatic stress, you think men, guns, those who served. Double the number of men. Women are twice as likely to suffer from trauma.
Yeah.
We don't know that. And we don't have...
Oh, well, we do. Many of us do.
Yes, you know.
Yeah, many women do. But I think, once again, we're trying to take care of our families, hold down a job, take care of our parents. And we don't feel that society can handle our pain, right? We can't handle our pain. So I think that there doesn't feel for so many people. And I think whether it's our children, ourselves, our husbands, our partners, our cousins, that we live in a world that's kind to us about our pain.
Well, you know, what these folks talk about is relationships. And that's at the heart of this, because as you'll learn from reading the chapter, both chapters on couples, Gabrielle and Sharif, the love he has for Gabrielle is so palpable. He said, you know, I hate her bipolar. I love her. I couldn't imagine being married to anyone other than her. She is the most amazing woman I've ever met. And this is after he tells me what a nightmare her bipolar has been.
Right.
And you know, we somehow can't reconcile both notions. We think it's supposed to be all one way or all the other. And we can't almost be comfortable with complexity in that gray area. That's frankly, in a culture like this where we're supposed to have, you know, no, yes, no, black, white. This is living in the gray area, and accepting that is okay, and living with that is okay. So, and then you have Ashley and Drew Dunlap. I was just with them in Nashville last week. Ashley has lived on the street for years, you know, sold her body for drugs. She's still married to Drew Dunlap. Drew Dunlap says, I love this woman, and it terrifies me whenever she goes out on a spree. You know, she's had longer periods of sobriety, but can't keep it. Drew is an amazing human being. All I'm saying is that there is beauty in kind of everybody. And the people that can accept and love one another, you know, for the full picture, right? We all have.
I love this question here from Tina Johnson. Where are my gray area peeps? I love that idea that we need gray area people on our team. We need people that love the whole of us and understand that there's a part of us that might be traumatized, a part of us that's grieving, a part of us that has bipolar, a part of us that is scared, a part of us that is a child. There's a lot of interfamily systems work that talks to people about parts of themselves. And so understanding that there's a part of you, right? I mean, that's what this whole book is about, is really initiating this conversation and how complex it is, and how we need to be able to see these people as courageous people. It's not just somebody who skis down a Black Diamond Mountain or climbs Mount Everest that is courageous, that it's the millions amongst us. That's what you're trying to say, Patrick, right? You're trying to say that courage is much broader, it's much grayer, right? And that what people are dealing with day in, day out is really courageous, and you want people to see them that way, correct?
That's right. That's right. You know, and you know, Maria, taking this from Uncle Jack's book on profiles and courage, 4 out of the 8 people that we know of, it could be 8 out of 8, but Daniel Webster died of cirrhosis of the liver because of his alcoholism. I never knew that, Maria. My dad had Daniel Webster on all of his walls. It was his hero. Who would have imagined Daniel Webster died of alcoholism? Lucius Lamar, who President Kennedy featured in Profiles, he saw his father go out and shoot himself in front of the house. John Quincy Adams lost a son to suicide and 2 of his brothers to alcoholism. These are among many stories. Sam Houston, first president of Texas, who became senator, also covered by President Kennedy. All of these people had serious mental illness. He was shamed as a politician for being the big drunk. That's what they used to call Sam Houston, the big drunk. All I'm saying is this is not a new set of issues.
Right.
The good thing that we're doing now is we're finally coming out of the shadows and actually talking about this. And like you said, there is no language yet.
Yeah.
And we can't begin as a society to wrap our arms around what politically, you know, I want to get to the policy, right? But we can't do that unless we first understand what are we talking about? Because we can't just talk statistics. The statistics only tell us so much. We have to talk about people's experiences so that we kind of know better what policies will work and what policies may not.
So there's some people saying on here, you know, obviously AA has helped so many people, which of course it has. It's an extraordinary movement. And so many of these programs, whether it's AA, NA, Love Addicts, Sex Addicts, all of these things are also now on Zoom. So people can participate through Zoom. But you talk in here about the importance really of all of it working together, that people need support groups. They need cognitive behavioral therapy. They need, in many cases, prescription medicine, and that it all needs to work together, right? And we have a loneliness epidemic on top of all of that. So we need therapy. We need, in certain situations, medication, but we all need support, right? We all need to be, you know, in a support group of some kind, whether it's Al-Anon, AA, or and you've spoken so openly about the importance yourself of attending meetings to keeping your own sobriety out there.
Well, there's nothing more powerful than being socially connected. And I just thrive when I'm amongst my fellows who know what I've gone through and I know what they've gone through. It may not be the same in a story, but it's the same in terms of the feelings behind the story. I think that what we really need is to make sure that we deploy what we know works. We already could save many lives, Maria. The 2/3 of the people who are overdosing have previously been hospitalized for overdoses. Why do we let people leave the emergency room after an overdose and not wrap our arms around them? If we wanted to reduce the 110,000 people Americans who die every year to overdose, we know what we can do to save a big percentage of them.
But people say all the time we don't have the facilities. Parents struggle all the time with children who are 18 and over, or who are adults and don't take their medication, who feel like that, you know, that the system doesn't support kind of how to help people.
The system doesn't, Maria. I mean, I was honored in Congress to write the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act, which is kind of a medical civil rights version. It basically says you can't treat the brain over here and the rest of the body here. You have to integrate everything. But my point is insurance companies continue to deny, and they don't expect people to appeal. And even if those people appeal the denials, they don't get anything but the care they should have gotten in the first place.
So what do you do? So what did they do? What do people...
Right now, we're waiting for the Biden administration to issue a rule that will really enforce this law. It's supposed to come out the first week in July. The American Health Insurance Plans, AHIP, is pushing back aggressively against President Biden to say he shouldn't release the rule because they think it's too onerous for them. And this is where we don't have enough political power, Maria, because we are bigger than U.S. Steel. You remember in the Godfather movie, you know, Al Pacino, we're bigger than, we in mental health and addiction and our families are the biggest special interest group in this country, but we don't flex our political power. And when we do, Maria, we'll make all those changes that we need to make in order to fix these big systemic gaps that we have.
Okay, so Patrick is asking, one, buy the book, or I'm asking you to buy the book. It is out today. It's called Profiles in Mental Health Courage. This will be up in the Sunday paper. This Sunday, we're doing a whole special edition on mental health. So I hope you'll see that, and I hope you'll support this book. As Patrick mentioned, there's a QR code at the end of the book, which will tell you kind of what you're doing, where resources are about in the country, how you can get involved, how you can help. If you are struggling with addiction, a mental health challenge, or someone you love is, know that the numbers are huge and you're not alone. Actually, you're probably in the majority, and that there is help out there, and to flex our muscles in community. Because it is in community that things get done. Is that about it, Patrick?
Maria, that's why you're so good at this. Why don't I next time just have you do my interview, because you're so good, Maria.
Well, I love you. I love you. And I have been beside you throughout your entire life. I'm older than Patrick, and I've watched him really struggle and then find his footing and build a life that is just extraordinary. Has built an incredible life for himself, has made working on behalf of others the central point of his life. He has a beautiful wife, beautiful children, and he's out there every single day working on his own sobriety and helping others with theirs, whatever it is. So that to me is a profile in life. It's a profile in mental health, courage, and he's sharing so many others in this book. It's really inspiring. It's a great gift book to give to other people to initiate those conversations that we're scared to have. And so if somebody says, why are you asking me these questions? Say, Patrick Kennedy told me to. So blame it on Patrick.
That's it.
And use it as an opportunity. But I want to thank you, Patrick, for all your work. Once again, we're going to put this up on Sunday. We hope to sell a lot of books for you that I think will be great for the heart and soul of our country.
Thank you, Maria. I love you so much.
I love you
and thank you for putting this all together.
Okay, I love you, and I love all of you who joined us, who stuck with us through the frozen images, stayed the course. Today is pub day for Patrick, so thank you for holding him with your thoughts and in your arms, and holding him even when he was frozen. He's back. He's thawed out, and he's ready to go. He's thawed out. So God bless you all, and thank you, and have a wonderful pub day, Patrick.
Thank you, Maria. Thanks, everybody.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.